Hi everyone. Today we're just going to be revising a little bit about positive and negative integers. So we're going to be looking at chapter 3 for the next week or so, just to revise what we've learned. So there's some important rules that we learned back in chapter 1. The first is around adding positive numbers and negative numbers. Okay, so if you're going to add two positive numbers, we want to add and keep the positive sign. So for example, in this question here, these brackets, they don't really mean anything. So that question is just saying what's 6 plus 7, and we know that's 13. So positive, positive gives a positive answer. So with addition, a positive and a positive gives a positive. If we've got two negative numbers, for example, when we're adding, we add and we keep the negative sign. So in this case here, if I have negative 13, plus minus becomes a minus. And when I work that out, that will give me negative 37. Remember, we're doing this without calculators. Okay. So in other words, if we're going to add numbers with different signs, what we do is we find the difference between those two numbers and we give the answer the sign of the larger number. So for example, in this question here, example 1, I've got 17 minus 6, which is positive 11. Okay, because the larger number was positive, so it stays positive. In this second example, I have negative 32 plus 18. Now, this number here has a negative attached to it. When I add 18 on, I'm going to the right, but my answer is still negative. Okay, so you got to be careful when you're adding and subtracting positive integers to make sure you've got the correct sign. If we're thinking about subtracting now, so we just looked at adding, so if we're thinking about subtracting, we change the subtraction sign to addition and change the sign of the number that follows. Okay, then go back to our original rules. So in this one, if I've got plus 8 minus plus 5, that's just going to give me 3. Okay, if I have a look at the next one, I've got 7 minus 4. Now these two negatives here are touching, so that actually becomes a plus. So that becomes 7 plus 4, which is equal to 11. Okay, so just remember, if you've got two negatives touching, that makes a positive. In this one here, I've got negative 12, take away another 6, because the plus minus touching makes a minus. And I'm at negative 12, and I'm going left another 6. So I'm going to get to negative 18. This one here, I've got negative 23 minus 16. Again, you can see these two negative signs here touching, so that becomes a plus, which is negative 23 plus 16. And again, because my number here has a negative, that means my final answer will be negative, but I've got to add 16 to it. So that's going to be negative 7. Okay, so what do we talk about then? If I've got two negatives touching, that changes to a, sorry, it's not a comma, but if I've got two negatives touching like that, change the sign to a plus. If I've got a negative number, take away another negative number, my answer will be negative. Okay. If I have a plus and a minus touching, either ones of these, they will become a negative sign. Okay, so you got to remember those rules. When we're thinking about addition and subtraction, it's slightly different, a bit easier, I think. When the signs are the same, the answer will be positive. Okay, so if you remember that, you'll be okay. If they're different signs, the answer will be negative. So in this first example here, we've got 5 lots of 7, which is 35. Everything's positive. In this one, we've got negative 5 lots of negative 7. Signs are the same, so it becomes positive. Okay. Division's the same. If I have 10 divided by 2, that's going to give me positive 5 because I had two signs the same, two positives. If I have negative 10 divided by negative 2, again, I've got two negative signs, that becomes positive 5. Okay, so if the signs are the same, it's positive. If the signs are different, it will be negative. So in this one here, this example here, for example, I've got 8 multiplied by negative 7. That will give me negative 56. In this one here, I have negative 12 times positive 4, which is negative 48 because one's a plus and one's a minus. Okay. This one I've got 9 divided by minus 3, which is equal to minus 3. Minus 14 divided by 2 is minus 7. And those are the rules I wanted to pretty much revise with you. So just remember, for multiplication and division, when the signs are different, you're going to get a negative answer. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to make sure that you've written down the heading with today's date, copy down the rules and examples, and then what I'd like you to do is to have a go at the exercises that the teachers asked you to have a look at. So 3A to 3D. Some of it you may have done already, some you may not have, and that's also on Connect. Hope to see you guys soon.